everything that you just shared, I was sitting here trying to figure out why they didn't have you over in the Atchafalaya Basin or some of the very remote areas of Louisiana, because here I am thinking for them to send you all the way to the Everglades. Like, are they trying to imply that the Louisiana environment and ecology wasn't diverse enough, or what was it that made them choose the Everglades over, i.e., some of the more rural bayou and tributaries there in Louisiana?
So for that specifically, my boss at the time, he's actually from Mexico and has been doing research on mangrove trees, not mango, but mangrove trees, which are like in pretty much like wetland areas all around the world. So they do also study in the Atchafalaya, they do things in Tanzania. He's done some things in South America, and the Everglades is also, they have a, research-wise with LSU has a partnership with Miami, like a Miami Dad, and they do like their research together. So that's like their big research that they do twice a year outside of that, and they compare their results like with the things that are going on in Louisiana compared to the things that are going on in Tanzania. They do all those trips. I just specifically went to this one. Because they even asked me if they would go to the ones in Louisiana, that would be like the weekend trips. They're like, oh, you want to come this weekend? I was like, probably not. You know, we always had something we were doing. Like, you know, I was always in my world. You know, I was still like partying, having fun with my friends, also trying to study and get some kind of work done as well. So yeah, they did actually do those as well.
Okay. All right. I just didn't want you to miss out on that stretch, because I tell you, that is literally one of my favorite areas in the world. And I mean, and I have traveled as far as Africa, and I'm still very much so in love with the Atchafalaya Basin.
I'll definitely have to check it out then. Still, we'll find some way. I just probably won't be out there standing in the water. Like,
no, we won't do that.
Yeah.
I got a rule about standing in water that you can't see the bottom of.
Exactly, and that's what they had me out there doing, and I was not for it. That was real up and close with nature.
I love it. I do. I really love it. Okay. I know, she knows I'm earthy, so I was excited about having this time with you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to ask the next question.
Okay, because I was looking at you like, okay. All right, so once you came back from Atlanta, well, from Louisiana to Atlanta, you ended up joining the team of Kirk Studios. Was it hard integrating your love for the environment with it?
With the studio?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so much as it was like, when I would say like that experience, definitely being able to come back to that while being gone for 4 years was definitely a great experience for me. And I think it was an interesting way of me learning like the way that I wanted to do environmental science, because when I originally also started, before I worked at the studio, I was also working at the Sierra Club. And that's like an entire environmental organization. And I actually hated the position. Like, it was a lot of white people. I felt like it was, you know, completely still separated from, you know, what really matters to community and what really like gives the heart and feeling to community and like uplifting like our communities and transforming them. It still just seemed very corporate. So I actually left because I was really, I really liked the fact that with the studio and being able to work with Cam, we were able to just be in a creative environment. And I am at heart a creative. I, you know, picked up on science and stuff like that later, but I was also good at science in school, but still, like, in general, even with my science, I like to be still very creative. So I think with the studio, it was a great opportunity for me to be able to figure out how I'm going to bring this into my world and be a scientist like in the city rather than like a scientist in a research lab. So that was really cool, and I really got to learn a lot there. And I always cherish that time because that was always really great. So yeah.
Okay, well, while you were there, you created like the Earth Day party. That was my first time even going to Camp Kirk. I didn't get to meet her. I didn't get to meet you that night though. But I'm glad I got to meet you another night. Okay, so will you be doing the Earth Day parties in the years that come by after Corona?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think we definitely have things planned to keep up some Earth Day initiatives. And I don't think I want to ever keep things in a box of always doing a party. So sometimes we may do a different activity, but we're definitely going to keep the energy and the motive and the initiative going forward for sure. And so, yeah, things are coming for sure. But of course, you know, this year definitely made everybody kind of have a little time out and really just like, you know, hone in and tighten up on other things. So definitely once we're able to get more, everybody's able to get in a safer position to be able to do really community service based things. I definitely know that we'll revisit that.
You ended up leaving Kirk Studios to pursue your own business, Fort Berry Alternatives. How does it feel to be in basically the front seat, the driving seat, and owning your own business instead of working for somebody?
I think that in general, I mean, of course, it's a lot more difficult because, you know, you have, of course, more responsibility, but I don't really take it in a negative standpoint. I think, you know, I think forever I'm a student. So I'm always learning and always trying to figure out not only just like what I want to do with Fort Berry Alternatives, but also what God has planned for me and kind of just like leave. I think in general, what me leaving was doing was more so getting more into like what I felt like my purpose was just in life. Like, you know, I felt like while I was there, of course, while you work for other people, you know, it's like you're able to help them and, you know, those situations and uplift their dreams. And that's, you know, a great thing to be able to do and witness and be a part of because it's history. But I also know that in general in life, you know, you still have to figure out what God has for you as a separate individual. You know, some people make these other people, you know, their gods and things like that. And I don't ever want to do that. You know, I always want to make sure that I have a clear mind and a clear conscience to just leave those opportunities open. Because I also know just, you know, I originally did not plan to leave. That's not really, you know, it wasn't just like oh, you know, I don't want to be here anymore. As much as it was, is I respectfully felt like somebody could serve that role a lot better and I could give more of myself to my community, and which was great because I probably would not have been back in school right now. So yeah, even with this year, just we've all, I think in general, businesses and small businesses at that have had a hard year, you know, so it definitely has been a harder year to try to step into doing a business that's also related around community and being out there. Because that's a lot of my things is being out there, you know, with the people and stuff like that. So a lot of the things that I have planned for this year didn't go through. But I think that was great because I still got a lot of time to read. I've been learning. And I actually did just end up going back to school. I really just like last minute applied. I was like, my niece graduated from high school and like I remember we did like her graduation in the house, so I put on my cap and gown and did her little commencement speech and shit, just to, you know, give her some type of like, because I think that's a very serious moment when you do graduate, for your family, even for yourself. It's a big accomplishment, and even that feeling just really put me in a position of just like, wow, like some of these things are bigger than me. You know, there's so much more to learn. And even so, like we're stuck in the house for whoever knows how long, whatever is about to go down you know, we're about to be home for a little minute. So the best thing I can do is stay busy as possible. So I really just reached out to GSU and was just like, do you think I can still, like, I know I have a week to get everything in, you know, what's going on with the GRE? And they said that they waived the GRE because of COVID. So I didn't have to take pretty much the equivalent of the SAT to apply and didn't have to take the GRE. All I had to do was get my recommendations. I got my recommendations from my pastor, my boss from LSU, and one of my high school teachers, and, you know, just sent my stuff in and, you know, here I am today. So there's definitely a lot gonna, you know, come in the future for Fort Berry Alternatives. But for right now, I'm definitely in a very immersive student experience just to make sure that I do great in the master's programs, because we pretty much can't even get C's. They said it's pretty much straight A's and a couple of B's. Like, so yeah, that's where I am right now.
so proud of you, Imani.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Like,
Yeah, because you see the strides, right?
yeah.
And like you see her like really breaking certain barriers, because unfortunately there aren't enough people that look like yourself that are in the role of what you have to do. And so I think that's what really makes it an important feat that I want to ensure that you know that you have my support on, because it doesn't get too much earthier than me. You know, I spend significant hours outdoors, you know, taking time in nature, being a student of nature, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, from the insects to, you know, not being able to identify some of the amphibian or reptiles, you know, that you may see sometimes. And it's like, I know that it takes a special cut of a being to decide I'm going to focus on the environment. I'm going to focus on nature. And so I just want to let you know that you got my support.
That means a lot coming from you, honestly. I think you're so fucking awesome. Like, literally, like, even before we met, I was so excited to meet you. So that means so much, honestly. Thank you.
Oh, you're a sweetheart for that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
What do you want to ask your question?
Let's see, what's my question right now?
You asked about agriculture.
Yeah. We can talk about agriculture. Yeah, I thought that she was gonna go and ask the very next question that she had on her list or what have you. But I would like to find out from you, how do you feel now that you've got this first degree underway and agriculture is something that's spoken to you, because it's a fairly new aspect of yourself, right?
Definitely. I pretty much I was recommended a book last year called Happy Cities, which really got into the psychology of like environmental science. So that started to wake up a lot of different things about the feel of environmental science, and also just the feel of community. What it feels like to have more gardens in our communities compared to having more parking lots. What it feels like to be able to walk to the store versus always having to drive. Having litter outside of our houses literally, increases the chances of depression in children and elder people. So that really started to open my eyes to a lot of things, as well as in the book, they were talking about a lot of the benefits of gardening and having gardens, and how in general, there's a weird perspective of the fact that we have to get an orange from across the country, when we can grow them, here in our communities. And also our communities are lacking, certain things that can stimulate our economy. So while we're doing all these other things to get less quality fruit, and crops and things like that have to be filled with chemicals. And I knew the science of it. I didn't know as much, I knew about the GMOs. I knew about, what transportation does to the environment, the pollution that it produces and stuff like that. But I really did not start to really hone in on too much of just the feel of what it means to be able to grow your own stuff. And the feel of what it means to literally watch something that's a seed grow into something, and then you eat it, and it tastes better. It tastes so, the things that I've grown this year taste so much better than what the things that I've just bought from the store, and the things that they pump up with all these chemicals so they can be shipped these certain distances and last as long as they do, versus my stuff in the garden that I have to eat more often, just to make sure that, because I don't have as many preservatives, we don't have all these chemicals in these things. So I also came across, somebody invited me to a talk of Rashid Nuri, which was great, because I know he's done a lot about urban gardens, and I know he's a pioneer in that industry. So it was great to be able to see him talk. And I actually bought his book, Growing Out Loud. And that was really great from his perspective about having, gardens in cities, having, being able to have markets, and being able to teach people how to grow their own foods and all these things. Yes, truly living well. Exactly. And I remember I asked him, is there any way we can get out there in the garden? And I remember he told me that he's technically, not over the administration anymore, that, you know, he's doing more of like focusing on him as an individual and things like that, and is still a part of Truly Living Well. But I would have to go, you know, pretty much there, you know, talk to someone else to be able to volunteer. And fortunately, the people at Historic Westside Gardens, one of the people who are over that, her name is Rosario. She was sitting next to me and she handed me her card and she was like, well, we do garden coaching every Wednesday, you know, come out there. And I was like, okay, great. Like, you know, and I think, you know, a lot of times like that is definitely God moments, because I could have just like lost the card or something like that. But I really just decided to, when I read through his entire book, which is great. And I really loved that perspective. But then I went out to the gardens in December. And I know even in that period in time, it was a lot of healing I was doing for myself. We had been going through a lot of things personally. And, you know, just within our friend circles, you know, just things like that. We had dealt with some loss in 2019 for sure. So the garden was definitely a great time for me. And it's crazy because the garden was off of Joseph E. Boone. And it's pretty much at some abandoned apartments, and they have these garden beds out there, and they literally gave me a bed. I adopted a bed for free, and they taught me how to grow. And it's been crazy. It's been amazing. I've now built one on the side of my mom's house. So now I have 2 gardens, you know, and I'm about to do my fall plants. And that's just been a great, great, great experience so far, being able to grow my stuff. You know, even showing it to my friends and stuff, everybody's so excited. Like I'll pull up a carrot and literally everybody's like, yeah, like it's a carrot. Like, and it was even great when I pulled up my carrots, and I was able to give them to pretty much my cousin so she could make them into baby food for her son. And I just like love everything about that. And I want more of that. And I feel like they should be everywhere. Like I just want more gardens. I want everybody to know how to grow their own stuff. You know, even when coronavirus hit, I thought it was crazy that we were all running to stores, you know, because we felt like they were going to close down. Like that's dangerous. You know, that's a whole different perspective that we don't really consider too much of. Food is power, you know, and that's a whole nother monster. Food is a whole nother monster.
Precisely.
It's power. And I'm starting to realize that a lot more, and I'm becoming more and more like wanting to just get land. And I mean, that would be the goal for me. That's a long-term goal for me for sure, to just get some land and just start growing as much as possible. You know, I want to be able to live off the land. I love the idea of it. I love being able to eat my stuff now. And yeah, my garden experience this year has literally kept me sane. It's made me work. It's taught me patience. I've gotten bit. I've gotten scratched. I've gotten beaten up by these plants. Like, you know, it's not easy or anything like that, but it's so rewarding. And I think it's very, very, very therapeutic. So yes, definitely I'm going to forever be out in the gardens for the rest of my life, just trying to grow more things. And yeah, I just love it. Yeah.
Well, I love your answer, because the things that you've shared have convinced me that you have been consistently out there undergoing the experience and listening to nature and just like really moving through the process of it, because it is indeed an attentive process. And so to be able to yield the proper fruit of your labor and, you know, be eaten up by the bugs and everything and still say, you know, and I'm going back, but I'm just going to wear a different type of clothing this next time, but I'm going back.
Exactly. Some new spray, but I'm going to go get my cucumber. I grew one cucumber, got beat up, and I'm proud as hell of that cucumber. Like,
and rightfully so, because, I mean, I think that whenever you can grow your own food, it is a re-acknowledgement of the God that lives in you.
Exactly. It's less about Walmart and like grocery stores as much. Like it's great. Like people live. That's stores are more new. Like, you know, like gardening. Like people are saying it's becoming a trend. Like no, like people. Well, our ancestors literally were out. Like we have soil in our like blood. Like, you know. So I think that's definitely a whole soulful experience entirely, to just like be out there and get connected to like what really matters. Because if they do shut down Walmart, what are we going to do? You know, and to be honest, we don't even want to support Walmart. We don't want to support these things. We can build these in our own communities. And actually, like, you know, I love the fact that people ask if they can buy the stuff that I grow, but I'm like, I only grew 4 cucumbers. Like, you know,
Right.
like, you know, so of course I would love to get more land. And you know, that I'm just going to get more and more, you know, as I can extend my, you know, time and just see what I can do.
Yes, well, I think that an amazing next step for you on the agricultural side would be to partner with other smaller, or I should say intimate growers like myself, like yourself. And if you get enough of them in place, then guess what? You can create a market system around it. But I do find significant value in the personal gardening. And it's because I know that I'm growing enough food for myself, for my family, maybe for a next door neighbor or two. But there is an essential component in growing to where it's like you don't have to consider yourself a grower, a cultivator, or a farmer if you've only got 5 or more acres.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, these are things that I feel that we should like really support within our communities. You know, check to see what your neighbors are doing. Like my neighbors to my left and to my right are growing food that come from seedlings that I've gotten them. And
Wow.
so they have their own
Great.
setup. But what that essentially means now, as we're posturing ourselves at a community level, I can see 3 consecutive lots that's growing their own food.
Right.